Broadcasting from the Tazin Lake Lodge Studios, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. Now here's your host, Brett Amundson.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I'm Brett Amundson. Thank you for tuning in on this station right here by demand, Sporting Journal Radio, or by watching this wherever you're watching this. Dan Amundson is right over there.
Hey. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Dan. It is the holidays, and we hope you're having a good holiday wherever you are. I hope it's with friends, family, and you're being safe. Or maybe you're doing some fishing or hunting, because what a great way to spend the holidays than being outdoors, if you ask me. That's what I always do. I always hunt and fish right up to the time I have to go visit family. And like, oh, look at the time. I think the bite's about to start. So I got to go. But Merry Christmas, everybody. When you do it, check out these new hoodies that we got at the Sporting Journal Radio store. Dan, look at yours. You got the blue.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the black. And check out that sleeve. I think that's way cool.
Pretty nice pike.
We also got the tumblers as well, too, so you can enjoy your favorite beverage, hot or cold, out of one of these bad Larrys. You can find them at sportingjournalradio.com. Now, because it is Christmas and the holidays, we're going to look back on some of the things that happened this past year, and we were humbled to win some awards at the AGLOW Association, the AGLOW event that took place in Michigan in September. For some of our podcasts, we won some awards, so we want to highlight one of those podcasts this week. What are we highlighting, Dan?
Yeah, we've got recruiting hunters into the outdoors. So we've got Hannah Stonehouse Hudson, Ray Ruiz, and Justin Morrissey talking about how to recruit more people into the outdoors.
That was a fun one to do. That one won some awards for us this year at AGLOW. Thank you, AGLOW, by the way. And thank you to those that watched it and helped us win those awards. And, of course, for the people that were a part of it, because really they did all the work. We just put them on the radio and on camera, whatever. So we're going to feature some of that interview later in the show so you can hear that award-winning interview, that award-winning podcast, courtesy of Sporting Journal Radio. That's my radio voice, Dan. Thank you very much.
It's better than your real radio voice, maybe.
We got some fishing reports coming up this week, today as well, too, on the show. From Joe Henry. He's going to check in from the Baudette International Airport. Ladies and gentlemen, where was he flying to, or where did he just fly from? We'll find out. He's got pictures and videos of it, too. And he'll give us a fishing report. The bite was on. He'll tell us how good it was. And then the bite is also on Devil's Lake. And Lucas Mertens from Haybale Heights Campground and Resort checks in to tell us where they were finding fish and how they were doing it. Dan, who's this show brought to us by?
Yeah, this week's show is brought to us by Haybale Heights Campground and Resort on Devil's Lake. Plan a trip to Devil's Lake at haybaleHeights.com. Ottertail Lakes Country. Find your inner otter at ottertaillakescountry.com. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Plan a trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Tazin Lake Lodge. Plan a trip of a lifetime to catch giant lake trout and pike at tazinlake.com. OnX Hunt. Know where you stand with OnX. Mid-Migration Outfitters. Rent one of their guided day fish houses or get ready to hunt snow geese. Learn more at midmigrationoutfitters.com. And Prairie Sportsman. Watch episodes anytime at prairiesportsman.org.
Looking for winter adventure? Might as well pick a place with over 1,000 lakes. Ottertail County, Minnesota is in the middle of everywhere, offers a simpler pace, and has something for everyone. Find your inner otter at ottertaillakescountry.com.
Now we're going to head up to Lake of the Woods and check in with Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism to get a fishing report up there as he checks in from where. Joe, where are you at? You're at an airport right now?
I'm at the Baudette International Airport.
How big is that international airport?
It's as big as it needs to be, Brett. No, I'll tell you what's cool about the Baudette International Airport is how many airports do you know that have fish hanging on the walls like that? It's a big bike, and check this place out. It's really cool. Now, this is one of those airports that you can drive up to. You don't have to pay for parking. You can drive right up to it. I mean, it is just really a neat little airport. You're right to the door practically. And in fact, we were able to drive our trucks right on the tarmac and load up our luggage to get on the airplane. And, we were up to the northwest angle, and Lake Country Air started a flying service around Lake of the Woods really because of the pandemic. When Canada closed to travel, and of course, a lot of our guests would drive to the northwest angle, and you have to drive 40 miles through Canada. So when that closed up, that kind of created an opportunity for a flying service. And they realized that there's a need for it. Guests really like saving time, avoiding customs, et cetera, et cetera. So Lake Country Air has set up not only out of Baudette, they also fly once in a while out of Wool Road, but they're actually based out of South St. Paul. So, a lot of people are flying right from South St. Paul right up to either the Baudette International Airport if they're going to fish at the south end of the lake at one of our resorts, or they fly right up to the northwest angle, in which that case they land right on the ice.
Is that Holman Field? Is that South
Something
St.
like
That's
that.
South St. Paul, isn't it? My dad used to fly for 3M out of that airport, I think, once in a while. But he didn't go to Lake of the Woods fishing, and I think he would have done that. Otherwise, it wouldn't have, because it was always work trips for him. So I think he would have had more fun.
Well, you figure now, imagine this, flying from St. Paul, flying for about an hour and 40 minutes and landing on the ice right in front of one of the beautiful Northwest Angle. I got to tell you, you want to talk about something. We landed, I had no idea. We took off from Baudette at around a little after 3 o'clock. I didn't think we were going to fish that night. Heck, the resort we were staying at had a bombardier fired up. We loaded up our ice fishing equipment. We're right to a fish house and started whacking walleyes. You want to talk about incredible.
That's great. So when you fly up to the angle, then is the runways on the ice?
Yeah, so it's a plowed runway on the ice. They got it marked with stakes and some different things. And it's really smooth. And ice is great. We have great ices here. So we land right on the ice. So we when you take off, and by the way, the seats are leather. You're wearing headphones with a mic, so you can talk to one another, and real warm, real comfortable leather seats. When you take off, boy, I'll tell you, we were not going very far down that runway, and that plane was in the air. And it's really kind of neat because you're flying first over the Rainy River, and then you go over Wheeler's Point, Pine Island, and you're flying up that east boundary. And good gravy, you're going up by Knights and Bridges where some of the great fishing is. You go over Garden Island and you see all the islands. You get to see over into Canada and what that looks like from air versus by boat or snowmobile. And it's just really kind of a neat experience. It's like flying fishing. It's almost like you're doing a flying trip to Canada.
Yeah.
Except you're at the Northwest Angle. Really cool.
Hey, was it a Caravan? Do you remember what kind of plane it was?
Kodiak.
Oh, Kodiak.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
The guys here at the airport had to help me out.
Sure, sure, man. And did you do any filming or pictures of that flight, Joe? Do you have any?
Yeah, no, we did. In fact, I don't know if I can show you. It's kind of cool too because when we were coming down, we were showing, looking at the fish houses when you get in front of Pine Island, and it's neat to see how the different resorts have the configuration going. And it just, again, seeing it from the air is just something very, very neat. Here's, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a picture. The guy is just, so the plane was going to go back up to the northwest angle. Yeah, I don't know if you really see that, but they were going to go back up to the northwest angle and drop some folks off and then take a group, I think, down to St. Paul or something. I mean, they're buzzing all over today. I'll show you, here's a picture of the outside of the Baudette Airport, which is really kind of a neat little airport. Let me block that for you a little bit. So just a nice little airport, but they're real easy to get to, And then...
yeah, you don't have to walk far from where you park your vehicle there. It's
man,
drive right up.
For guys like me, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And then here's a picture, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but here's a picture of from the air all the different fish houses and the different resorts that are there, and it looks like a bunch of specks, I guess, but really kind of neat again to see it from the air, and just a really cool experience. Here's a picture of the inside the plane. So again, very, very, very comfortable flight. But
to me, that's part of the experience. Being able to fly in a plane like that. How many people can say they've done something like that? But then to get to go fishing after you do something like that. And how was the fishing up there, Joe?
Boy, it was good. It was so good. I don't want to be unrealistic because let's face it, when you go fishing on Lake of the Woods, you're going fishing. You're going fishing like you go fishing anywhere. But, Lake of the Woods is one of those bodies of water that you always have a chance of having a day like we did yesterday. And I'll tell you what, we caught so many eater walleyes. We were throwing so many nice walleyes back last night, I cannot tell you. This particular fish house we were fishing out of was really kind of set up for a kind of a morning, evening bite. So during the day, it wouldn't have been that great. But we got there at, really early in the morning and just before light actually, and probably at 6:45, and we got, we fished just after dark a little bit. Boy, I'll tell you what, we caught walleyes, and we didn't get any real big ones. The biggest fish we probably caught was around 22 inches. But man, did we get nice eater fish. I mean, the 16 to 19 inch walleyes were just crazy. And we were getting them on, I was using a Tikka minnow by Clam. It's like a jig and wrap in kind of a glow color. That was working good, tipped with a minnow head or a piece of minnow tail and that middle treble hook. That was really good for some reason. And then I also used a rip and wrap. I caught fish on that using Fire Tiger UV, which a pink Fire Tiger UV, and I wasn't tipping that. I was just ripping that. I found when I tip that with a minnow, you don't get the good action on it. I was also using a macho minnow. I used a stop sign jig from Tom's Tackle a little bit. I used a Demon, which is kind of a glow in the dark, small, kind of almost like a crappie lure, but with a bigger hook. I used that with a live minnow on my dead stick, and that was also really effective. So the glow colors, I think we're out fishing gold this time around, but the glow colors, maybe a little bit of rattle on there was really good.
That first trip I ever took to Lake of the Woods and fished through the ice, I was introduced to that stop sign, and I'd never used it before, and it outfished everything else we had that day. And then the next year on the bus trip up, when we used to host bus trips from Fargo, on the bus trip up, we'd stop there in Greenbush, and I bought every stop sign. I think it was in Greenbush. I think that's where it was. I can't remember. I bought every stop sign they had in the store and caught a bunch.
Well, it's funny because Tom's Tackle is under new ownership. Todd and Sharon May bought it last year, I think, and they're keeping the tradition. And that's a small tackle company up here in Baudette really makes lures for Lake of the Woods, but really other stained water lakes as well. And they just got they just have some lures that work well. They got colors that work well. The glow reds, the gold and glow reds. They got jigs that are gold, glow, and pink. I mean, Lake of the Woods colors totally. And tell you what, it's some good options there. Put it that way.
How deep of water were you fishing up at the angle? Did you say?
Yeah, we're fishing 18 feet of water.
18, yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
And I'll tell you, what a lot of so some people were doing the morning evening bite. Other people were getting out a little bit deeper water, then they were picking at them all day long. I will say we also caught a nice pike. I was fishing with Larry Smith of Larry Smith Outdoors, and Larry Smith caught about a 34-inch pike. So real nice pike, not as big as they get up here. They get 45 inches and such, but a 34-inch pike was a darn good pike, and man, it give us a fight.
It's fun to catch them through the ice. Absolutely.
Oh, and on walleye gear too,
Yeah.
And it was fun, but things are alive and well. Our northwest angle, I should say, there's a few ways to get up there, Brett. People can drive up. They can take the Snowmobile Trail up. They can take the Lake of the Woods passenger service, which is a bombardier service, take you round trip up to whatever resort you're staying at. And there are some ways to get up there. And then in the meantime, on the south end of the lake, man, fishing has still been very, very good. Going through a lot of numbers on the south end. So a lot of numbers, meaning they're going through a lot of small fish. Most groups are getting their eaters. Most groups are catching some slot fish. And if you get lucky, you'll even get a trophy once in a while. So fishing overall, it's that early ice. Fishing's been good. Ice is getting thicker. Some of our resorts are actually getting sleeper houses out. There you see some gals with some burbot. The old saying is, have you ever had a bout with a pout?
Yeah.
And these young ladies certainly have.
My last one was at the Northwest Angle, as a matter of fact, Joe, filming for Prairie Sportsman. So,
that was with Jamie Dimon in the house, right?
That sure was. Good times.
Big pout.
All right, if we want to learn more about getting up anywhere at Lake of the Woods, where to stay, where to go, how to fish, all that good stuff, what should people do?
Absolutely. I want to wish everybody a great Christmas, a great holiday season. And you know what? If you want to find out more about fishing Lake of the Woods, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Thank you, Joe. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys.
right, now we're going to give you a Devil's Lake fishing report. On the phone with us is Lucas Mertens from Haybale Heights Campground and Resort on Devil's Lake. Lucas, how you doing?
Hey, I'm real good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. The fishing season, the ice fishing season, I guess I should say, is finally here, right?
It's here for sure. You bet. We've got some really nice cold weather. We kind of missed all the big snows, and we're making ice like crazy right now. Still probably got to err a little bit on the cautious side, but we got the Snobears out running around, and I mean, you find anywhere. Yesterday, the lightest ice I found was 12 inches. So,
I
mean,
nice.
I'm not. There's probably some thinner ice somewhere, but at least where I was at, 12 inches was the least.
So we've been making a lot of ice lately. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's been real cold, and that was just what we needed. Just what Santa Claus ordered.
Yeah, it's funny. We still broke through. Jason, we were pheasant hunting the other day, and a buddy of ours still broke through, got his boots a little wet. We were kind of surprised at that because we were basically hunting in a blizzard. It was, I think it feels like was below zero. And obviously there was a little bit of current there. There was a little bit of drainage coming into that slough. Sure. So I'm not surprised that it was a little bit thinner there, but every report I've heard though about lakes is that we've been building some great ice out there.
Yep, that's for sure. Good ice, not much for snow, and
perfect.
The fishing's really good right now. I mean, a lot of perch, a lot of walleyes, a lot of big pike being taken. So it's on right now.
I did see a nice table full of perch on your, I think on your Facebook page. Oh yeah, look at that one. That's pretty good right there. What are you having to travel around to find those schools, or are schools kind of on the move quite a bit?
Kind of just seems like there's fish. I mean, in your perch spots, that you've had in the past years, it just kind of seems like they're there right now.
Perfect.
Walleyes are sitting on structure like they always do. A good morning bite, good evening bite. We were out the last 2 days, and we were out this morning, and we caught quite a few walleyes, anywhere from, we caught one giant one the other night, was just a little over 30 inches.
Nice.
All the way down to, still catching fingerlings. So, but a lot of eater fish too. So it's just, it's good early ice, good fishing.
Are you finding any particular, color or presentation that's working better than others?
Nothing out of the ordinary. No, it's kind of cookie cutter Devil's Lake fishing right now. Buckshot, something that rattles, tungsten, minnow heads, waxworms. I mean, it's all been really good.
Devil's Lake is where I learned to really just pound the bottom with one of those buckshots and just make a lot of racket.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly what we're doing. We're running some live scopes now, and so you can see these fish coming in, and every one of them is just hugging the bottom. I mean, they're just rubbing their tummies on the bottom, and they come up off the bottom, and usually they've been hitting it.
And so you can get you fish 4 guys out of those Snobears?
Yeah, you can fish 4 guys in the Snobear. That's right.
And you're running a bunch of those, so you got guys crawling all over the ice right now finding fish.
Yep, you bet. And we got Christmas coming up, and then we got a real big push starting right after Christmas here, and then that's kind of our kickoff. That's kind of the official start of the season. It is for us, anyways. You could take some guys earlier. It's just kind of a crapshoot whether you have enough ice, but yeah, we're gonna have Christmas, and then we're just gonna put our nose down and go to work.
Well, that's about perfect to not have a ton of snow right now, get that ice built up, but it is Devil's Lake, so you're going to have a bunch of snow on that ice, which makes those Snobears kind of perfect for up there.
Yeah, exactly, and it looks like real cold coming. I seen some -16s, -20 towards the beginning of next week, so, you're nice and warm in that Snobear, you're safe, you're moving around. I mean, you can't really beat it for ice fishing.
Well, if people want to get up there and fish out of one of those Snobears, I know you're pretty booked up, but you might be able to sneak them in here and there.
Yeah, actually, I think we made the call the other day. I think we're going to try to add another one here in the next week or so.
Perfect.
Yep. So we could probably get somebody in that thing and get them out there. But my direct line is 701-351-3130. They can check our Facebook page, or they can go to our website. Has all our packages and prices on there, and that's haybaleheights.com.
HaybaleHeights.com. Lucas Mertens, Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Thanks for the time and Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you too.
Ice fishing season is here. This winter, plan a trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Not only will you have the chance to catch their legendary perch, but this year, Haybale Heights has been catching big walleye after big walleye. And they're doing it from a mobile, comfortable Snobear. No matter how cold it is outside, you're warm and toasty on the inside. Learn more and book a trip today at haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties, all in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. The smell of an opening day duck slew. It may be a stomach-churning fragrance for some, but it's a welcome shot to the nostrils for guys like me. The sights and the sounds, and yes, the smells remind me that the most wonderful time of the year is here once again. We have a couple of weeks before the regular duck season starts, but we'll be back in the wheat fields for the early Canada goose season here in Minnesota this weekend, and of course the dove season to open up on September 1st. Now, for most hunters, the fall season doesn't mean whacking and stacking as some would think. It involves immersion in nature, good times with friends and family, and taking part in traditions that have been passed down. It also means lots of vacuum-sealed protein going into the freezer. Now, headlines for years now have been filled with stories of decreasing hunters on the landscape. What's really happening out there? What can we do to reverse that trend? And what does a lack of hunters and anglers mean for conservation? Well, today we're going to discuss that topic with some friends who live and breathe in the recruitment world and see firsthand what is happening out there. With us today is Ray Ruiz, who we recently filmed an episode of Prairie Sportsman with. Ray works to introduce fishing to Spanish-speaking communities and really anyone else who wants to learn how to fish in the Twin Cities. Ray, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, Brett. Thank you.
Also, Hannah Stonehouse Hudson, communicator, photographer, and someone who has introduced a lot of women to the outdoors, either by design or maybe by offering examples of the lifestyle through her social media channels. Hannah, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
And also Justin Morrissey, who is the social media manager for the National Shooting Sports Foundation, who is constantly working to introduce more people to the world of shooting and hunting and started the Plus One movement a few years ago. Justin, thanks for being here today.
Great to be here.
I hope that you and all your friends and your family are all safe and healthy right now. And I want to discuss what curveballs that COVID has thrown your way this year. But let's just pretend COVID didn't happen for a second. Is that cool? Can we just pretend it didn't happen for a minute? I like thinking that way as much as possible. But I want to talk about, if we can, the world before COVID and what things were like. Ray, let's start with you. We had a pretty good time a couple of weeks ago on a lake in the heart of the metro, Baudette International. And granted, I don't live in the Twin Cities, but I think people overlook the fishing opportunities that you have in the metro area there, and that's pretty much where you spend most of your time, isn't it?
That's correct. I do. We had a phenomenal time out there, and the conditions were great. We had two fronts coming, one the day before, one while we were there, and we were still catching quality fish. I mean, we were catching northern pike as thick as footballs. We caught some nice bass, and the metro area just has a tremendous fishery all around. I mean, there's just in the metro area, Minneapolis, 13 lakes in Minneapolis, 11 in St. Paul, 356 in the entire metro area. That includes all the surrounding suburbs. So there's plenty of opportunity for people within the metro area to fish and catch quality fish.
Well, and maybe we shouldn't be telling people that, giving away some of the secrets, but Ray, we were talking about the size of muskies that are in the lakes there in Minneapolis. There's some pretty sizable fish in there.
Yeah, you're right. And to amplify your point there, when I fish these lakes, you talk to fishermen, local fishermen, and they're fishing with 12-inch sucker minnows, right? And they're like, they are convinced that the next state record will come from one of those metro lakes, and I do believe that as well. So
that's insane.
It is.
And
it's absolutely insane.
When you think about it, I mean, you think about the region we live in, the state that we live in, and you want to talk about trophy muskies. You think about going up north, or even going to Mille Lacs, or one of those popular muskie lakes. You don't think of, a lake in the heart of the metro that you're competing with sailboats on.
Listen to how silly this sounds. Hey, Justin, let's go to Uptown and go muskie fishing, bro. Like, that's who says that, right? Hey, Brett, grab your stuff. Let's go muskie fishing in down South Minneapolis and Lake Harriet. Who says that?
Nobody says that.
Nobody says that. You're not supposed to say that, but the narrative is changing, and anglers, especially hardcore anglers, know that you can go down within minutes, and be on world class fishery, be on a 50+ inch muskie, which is awesome.
And I think stressing that fact that though you don't have to go far for those fishing opportunities is something that's probably really important in the work that you do with BassTech. Tell us what that company is and why did you start it, Ray?
So I started BassTech about 3 years ago. We're going on our third year now. And I started BassTech because I saw a need in the marketplace, but more importantly in the community, for an ambassador, for someone to come in and educate and build awareness in this community, because I saw a tremendous amount of people of color fishing, a lot of them Latino, African American, some Somali, a lot of Hmong, our Hmong community. And I saw a need of education, because a lot of this community they had a lot of perpetual stereotypes that were just not good. Like, you can't fish here because you're not a certain color, or you can't go there because it's you're not a citizen, or you can't go up north because that's only for certain people. There is not only that, but you have to be a citizen to buy a fishing license. There was a lot of that going on, and I was like, well, let's address this. So BassTech was formed, and it's Minnesota's first and only platform that was basically formed to educate and build awareness in the Latino community. So we're still doing that today, and we're very proud of the work that we're doing. So,
Hannah, did you want to become someone who introduces more women to the outdoors, or did it just kind of happen organically based on what your lifestyle involves?
It basically happened by accident. I grew up canoeing and being outside, and my family worked in the radio industry, so we moved constantly. There were two things that had to happen. It had to have a minor league baseball team, and it had to have a body of water that we could canoe on. But nobody in my family hunts or fishes. So I discovered it in college. I am the woman that people are looking at to grow the hunting and fishing industry. I taught myself how to fish for muskie. It is my passion. The whole thing about urban fisheries for muskie, Madison, Wisconsin, so much fun. So I fell in love with it, and then I fell in love with a guide who I basically stopped muskie fishing, stopped fly fishing, and I learned all about Lake Superior. And then when he passed away, I inherited the guide service. I decided it was well run by two individuals who have gone off to do incredible things. And I decided I would just ice fish for the rest of my life and introduce people to a thing that is absolutely incredible. It is social. It is, you can meet new people. It's about conservation. It's about being outside. It's all about being together and being outside. And it does not matter what kind of equipment you have. Truly, to the people who love it, doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have, your income level, any of that. It's just a community with incredible people. And so I've been trying to get people to see, whether it's through introducing women to ice fishing with Women on Ice, or just my view that everybody can access the outdoors and it's not as complicated as people say it is. And there's always going to be somebody to help you. So that's the long answer to your short question. I get really enthusiastic about it.
No, that's great. That's great. That we need people like that. You know, the more people to show what, you know, other people how much fun it can be, the better.
Yeah.
And
I'm a Soviet studies major, so it's not like I was in the outdoors. So.
Those two don't go together very well?
No, not at all.
That's funny. Justin, explain what the Plus One movement is.
All right, so the Plus One movement is all about just peer-to-peer mentoring. So instead of like a lot of companies in the industry, in the firearms industry, will go out and they'll host events like retailers, ranges, any conservation organization. They can host events that are organized, of course, and people can come in and learn how to target, shoot, and hunt. But the thing is like we're all hunters and anglers, and you know, whether we bow hunt or whatever it is, like we can pass down a lot of information just to our friends, and all it takes is an invite. And so the idea is that if 1 in 3 hunters, according to NSSF research, would introduce one new person, then we would secure a strong future for hunting and the shooting sports. And so we just do a lot of online education, a lot of encouraging for people to just go out and bring someone new, you know, just teaching them about the fundamentals of firearms, gun safety, just the total basics to get them introduced. Then they there are so many ways that people can learn and go their own route, whether they want to get into waterfowl hunting maybe, or deer hunting first, or squirrel hunting, whatever it is, or just even go to the range and pull the trigger for the first time if they've been afraid of firearms because of what they see in the media or whatever. So that's kind of the idea of the Plus One movement in a nutshell.
I feel like one of the biggest issues in the recruitment world is overcoming boundaries, whether it's economic, geographic, or something as simple as a language barrier. Ray, how many people have gotten more interested in fishing just because they've had someone who speaks the same language as them?
Well, to answer your question, that's a great question. A lot, and we're measuring it by license sales too. Well, that's what our company kind of does. We measure that, and what we've noticed is, to Hannah's point and to Justin's point, you don't need fancy equipment, right, Hannah?
Right.
And Justin, you don't need to talk about like really complicated ballistics or really technical stuff when it comes to fishing or hunting, right? Just keep it simple, keep it practical. So when these communities come in, our company, BassTech, really what we focus on is basics and fundamentals. And because of that, we've been able to really move that needle. And these communities, once the word gets out in certain communities that there's this resource and they speak your language and it's safe for them and their families, they're all over it. And one social media post, I started with like 2 families. I ended up with like 12 or 13 families. And I had to turn people down kind of, because I'm like, it's only me. So I had to like reach out to, and by the way, I'll be reaching out to you guys when I get more families involved, because the problem is keeping up with this stuff, keeping up with the volume of families, which is beautiful, right? And we want to encourage people we want to keep it simple, make it fun. Keep it simple, keep it practical, and make it fun for these families. And we've seen a very significant increase in Latino families coming out fishing, because now they see an ambassador, they see someone that looks like them, that speaks like them. They're like, wow. They see part of my staff, there's a lot of women in my staff. There's more women in my staff than there's only one of me. So I like to encourage everyone to participate, and everyone's invited. So to answer your question, we have seen a significant amount of growth because we do simple things like just put we speak the same language. You know, we make it safe for your family, you know.
Ray, how did you get introduced to the outdoors?
My father grew up in Mexico. He grew up in Poncitlán, Jalisco. Big shout out to Poncitlán, Jalisco. I know my cousins and everyone. There's so many people. out there that we know. They're like, oh man, thanks for the shout out, man.
That's awesome.
So in Spanish, but my dad, he grew up bird hunting. So, we're going to have the honor to hunt with Brett Thursday, do some morning dove hunting. So that's going to be pretty awesome. But I got introduced to my father. My father, the first thing I learned how to do was shoot a 410, slingshot, then the 410, then my Zepco 404. And growing up in Chicago, let me tell you, there's not a whole lot of places you can go because I grew up around gang-infested neighborhoods. You couldn't go outside. You get shot at, you get beat up by certain gangs. It was really unsafe. So my father took the family out of the city. We went to Kankakee River, went to the Fox River, went all over. And I got introduced through my father and it's been awesome, man. I mean, I'm teaching people what he's taught me. And I think to me that means a lot. It means a tremendous deal.
When we were filming and we were fishing out there, you were kind of talking about it, that your life could have gone in a lot of different directions, and that maybe fishing in the outdoors may have saved you in a sense.
I think you're right. That's a great point. And I think it in a way it did, because it got me. I think about all those weekends that I was out of the city and not in the city that things happened. I would come back and someone was in jail. Someone got shot. Hey, did you hear about this guy overdosed? Or, hey, did you hear this? It was always negative, except for like when I was with my family, all I knew was fishing and hunting and sports, obviously. But fishing and hunting was a big, big part of my life, and it still is. But it could have gone the other way if my father wouldn't have introduced me to the outdoors, to fishing and hunting. I think things would have had a different turnout in my life.
It may have been a different location, but your introduction sounds so much like all of ours with the slingshot and then the 410, and the Zebco and all of that. When you talk about that language barrier, Hannah, I've heard something similar about women that want to get introduced to the outdoors. Sometimes we're just more comfortable being around, or being mentored by women. Sometimes, okay.
Sometimes. That is not true for all women. And sometimes, I am one of those, I don't care what gender it is. I think women just want to be around people who will make them feel comfortable.
Sure.
And if they start being taught by their spouse, that's when the arguments start. Honestly, if you are a spouse who wants to get your significant other, your daughter, whatever, into it, and you start even feeling a little bit like there's something combative going on, bring someone else in. I cannot tell you, I love ice fishing more than anything. However, sometimes the joy of it was ruined because one of us was catching more fish than the other one. And, if you're filming a show and he's supposed to be catching, anyway, I digress. But if you can, find someone else and it can be a guy, a girl, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, some women are more comfortable. I happen to have 95% of my friends are guys because I am in this industry. But I have talked to other women and we honestly don't care. We just don't want to be talked down to. And sometimes women can mansplain a lot too. So it just depends on your attitude of teaching. People come from an attitude of teaching like they really want you to enjoy it, or they want you to know how much they know. And the people who come to you and are like, hey, this is so much fun. Yes, we want you to have fun, and it doesn't matter if you know how to use the Vexlar or use whatever. We'll teach you how to do it. You're not an idiot. Or why didn't you see that? You should have seen that. That's an attitude of, I just want to show how much I know. Yeah, and that's where you lose people. And so you got to look at the dynamics too. And Ray, I love your point of like the carrying on the knowledge. I have this thing called the Life is Short movement, and it's the knowledge we are given from others is ours to pass on. And I learned about Lake Superior from Jim, and he learned from his grandfather on the reservation. And now it is my privilege to pass on that information and that knowledge, because I might save another little kid, just like you talk about. Getting people to stay out of trouble, the love of the outdoors, especially right now, is huge. So I love that, and I need to interview for you for something else. So I'm stealing Ray.
That's fine. That's great. As a matter of fact, I'm all about that for sure. The more we can spread the message, the better. So, Justin, when it comes to that +1 movement, what's the methodology behind reaching everyone that you can possibly reach with that?
Well, I mean, really just kind of speaking on what Hannah and Ray, touch base on with community. I mean, ultimately, the mindset is these days that anybody can go on social media and you can change the world. But the reality of it is that the best way you can change the world is by starting your own community. And so the people you know around you and the closest people to you, you helping them will encourage them to help others. And you being an influence to them will ultimately, like Ray said, like he's had more people reach out to him and that he can't even keep up. Well, it's because people in that circle, it starts to grow more and more, and they look at Ray to be the leader in that area, the subject matter expert, when in reality, to introduce somebody to hunting or target shooting or whatever it is, you don't have to be a subject matter expert. You just need to be someone who's willing to go out and have fun with somebody else. And so that's really the key thing. And speaking on what Hannah said too, I also think it's important to remember as a mentor that you are trying to make the experience fun for your mentee. It's not supposed to be always fun for you. Anyone who's been a mentor or a good mentor has probably had times where it's been frustrating, but ultimately you probably don't bring someone new to an awesome goose hunt, like an awesome goose field. I'll actually even compare it to you bringing a new dog out to a new goose field and you have geese loaded in, but this dog's running around like crazy. Like the success of the hunt isn't what makes, like the success of the harvest, I should say, isn't what determines the success of the hunt. It's you having a good time, keeping the mentee comfortable. And so ultimately, I think it's just that inclusive outlook on everything and just the honing in on that community aspect that really drives the +1 movement forward. It's seeing pictures of other people, like everyday people, like all four of us, out there with someone else that's new, bringing them to the range with a big grin on their face, or my best friend going out for his first time and having holding up a goose that he shot, or any of those things. So that's the best way that we can sell target shooting and hunting, is by smiles and by people just having a good time.
You want to tell us about Joey?
Absolutely. So I have been mentoring a boy with Down syndrome. His name is Joey. Since he was 12, he's going to be 24 this year. And for years and years, I just mentored him, and I brought him out fishing, and he loves fishing. He bought all these shirts with bass on them and stuff. And I can point at taxidermy whenever we go to like a rural restaurant and they have taxidermy on the wall, and I'll quiz him on all the fish on the wall and everything. But then this last fall, I brought him out deer hunting for the first time. I started with turkey hunting last spring, actually, and we got really close, but we didn't get a turkey. He had a lot of fun, though. And then we went out deer hunting, and he ended up shooting a little 6-pointer during the Wisconsin gun season. And I got the whole hunt on video, and the excitement and transparency from him and his emotions. I mean, it made the video go viral in this community anyways. And I think it's going to reach a lot more people. And it's things like that where anyone in the industry, like all four of us, like we can talk about the +1 movement. We can encourage people to go out and bring new people. But ultimately, I believe that if you don't step up and lead by example, practice what you preach, then your words don't mean anything. And so that's ultimately the best way that I can lead and show people how to be a good leader, a good influence in the +1 movement.
Working with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of numbers and demographics that are out there. What are you seeing as far as increases or decreases in participation among different demos out there?
Sure. That's a really good question. So I can tell you right now that with everything politically happening this year, everything with COVID-19, there has been a huge increase in firearm sales, and I think it's like 5 million new gun owners supposedly. Wow. And I mean, it's absolutely insane, that number. But the thing is like, those 5 million new gun owners, anybody, I like to always say it this way, anybody can hold a sword, but if you don't know how to use it, it's pointless.
For sure.
And a lot of these people are buying firearms for self-defense. And so now we have this group of people. It's kind of like buying your first fishing pole. You know, you buy it, but you can hold a fishing pole, you can have any piece of equipment, but if you don't know how to use it properly, then it's pointless. And so now is a time where anybody, if you're a firearms trainer, if you're just knowledgeable in firearm safety, if you know the 4 firearm safety rules, I mean, just spread those 4 firearm safety rules with all these new people, as many people as you can, and just make sure that they're, number one, owning responsibly and safely, and then also just using them, whether it's for target shooting, recreational purposes, hunting, or self-defense. So that's kind of like the next step, and we just got to keep these new gun owners engaged as much as possible and not let them kind of just put that gun in the cabinet or wherever, you know, and say and never use it. So that's kind of, for what I know, we have a research guy. I'm not a research guy. I'm the fun guy. Goes out and likes to encourage people to go out in the field. Sure. But yeah.
Well, I've been a big proponent of people taking hunter certification or, you know, if it's a permit to carry class or whatever gun training courses they can take, even just sitting and watching YouTube videos, whatever. But if you can go get some training from some sort of licensed firearm trainer, I've been a big proponent for everybody. You know, just so even if I've had people come up to me and say, why do you need to own guns? And, you know, I've got various reasons. And if they have some hesitations, I always try to ask and find out what they are. And I say, you know what, just go take a class once, you know, just go learn about them. You don't have to buy one. You don't have to ever use one, but just go learn about them. And then you can maybe at least be a little bit more comfortable about why there are people like me that like to have them. And you brought up COVID and what's happening to license sales. We saw what happened to fishing license sales this year because of everybody either not being at work or being at home or wanting to do something outdoors because it's just safer outside. What do you guys think? Maybe Justin, we can start with you. What do you guys think about hunting license sales this fall?
Well, I think that I'm really interested and excited to see what happens this fall. I think that the opportunity at hand right now to introduce more people this is probably going to be the best opportunity in my life and what's to come, you know. And so I'm just really excited to see what happens. I think that people will, you know, practice social distancing and step outside more. But ultimately it comes to, you know, making sure people are aware of that opportunity. So we need to do that at this time and make sure that people take advantage of all of the opportunities that are right outside their door, or maybe outside the city if it comes to what Ray was saying about growing up in Chicago. So
yeah. Well, I want to stick with you with one more question because I want to stay kind of in the shooting sports realm. And, you know, I hate to say it takes a world pandemic to get more participation in the outdoor world, but obviously we've seen that. And everyone has talked about recruitment and what can we do? How can we get more kids involved in this or more kids involved in that and whatever? And one example I always give is the youth trap shooting leagues that have been going on in all the high schools. I mean, how big has that been for not just the shooting sport industry, but the outdoor world in general?
I mean, all of those kids who get involved, any adult even joining a league, it's incredibly impactful. I mean, I don't really know how to explain how we can measure that or anything, but I mean, if you think about that community level, like I said, and these everyday people who get into target shooting and they have friends who are anti-gun or have just maybe aren't educated on, you know, firearms or the opportunities outdoors. I mean, as soon as they are they hear that, oh, this guy target shoots or this guy owns firearms, oh, this guy conceals firearm and has it on him all the time. and I didn't even know that, and I've known him for 6 years. Like, it's like, yeah, that's the thing. You just don't know. You can't judge people based on other people's actions, especially criminal actions. So yeah, I think just the more people that can get involved, the better. And like I said, just focus on that community and don't try to change the world. All it takes is one. That's the whole idea of the +1 movement. So,
well, I'll tell you how you can quantify it a little bit. When I heard that participants in the Minnesota High School Clay Target League outnumbered hockey players in the state of hockey, and not one injury or accident. You talk about kids' guns in schools, and not to have one incident, and to have that big a participation. Then you'd have. I went to the state championship in Alexandria a few years ago, and there was like 7th grade girls shooting off against high school seniors. And then there were guys in wheelchairs. So it was this big inclusive group of kids all finding a common interest in a sport, and to me it's just absolutely amazing. Hannah, did you see more people going fishing this year because of COVID or otherwise?
Oh yeah.
And then what are the odds then? Do you think if you saw new people get into it? Do you think they were introduced to something that they found really exciting and will stick with it? Or what experience did you have?
Especially in the ice fishing, because it started in the March, and where I am up in Fargo, there's late ice. I saw lots of people jokingly saying it's the ultimate social distancing, and it really is. I fish outside. I don't fish in a shack. I think that's for wimps. Just kidding. But colder it is, happier I am. I'm weird. But it really is. It's social distancing. You're outside, and you get to talk to people and just enjoy the elements. And if you want to sit inside by yourself, you can. Whatever. But I really think people saw it and went, oh, I was just going with a friend because I didn't want to be inside anymore. And actually, this is really fun. This is kind of like a video game if you got any of the electronics, right. That kind of thing. The other thing I'm seeing on the shooting side of this, a bunch of women who have joined these women's groups for fishing, they're also talking about hunting. And they're talking to other women who were afraid of firearms, who are seeing, oh, this woman can do this, because it's all about rumor. I was terrified of firearms. No, I did not shoot a gun until 3 years ago. I inherited a bunch of them and was taught by an instructor, and it is the most empowering thing when you know what you're doing and safely. So now you have these fishing groups who are now talking about hunting and firearms because they want to be outside this fall. So it's the same group of people, and whether it's younger, like men and women who maybe were in an urban environment and were never taught by someone else about being outside. There's people, they desperately want to be outside, and they come from more of the silent sports area. And they, whether they're interested in food, whether they just thought, oh, this looks great, this looks cool. There's many different ways to go about it, but on the women's side, the women's groups, those who got into fishing during the COVID are now going, oh, there's other women who are talking about hunting, talking about the start of bird season, talking about getting ready for deer stands. And they're not just talking about doing that with their husbands. They're talking about doing that with groups of women and having fun, or just groups of friends. So I really think, though COVID sucked, that's the technical term, I think there's some opportunities to say, hey, you know what? COVID eventually will be done, but we are hoping that you will continue to be outside and enjoy the outdoors.
Well, the second part of recruitment is retention. And Ray, after you've introduced somebody to the fishing world, how well has your retention rate gone? Do you see people continue to stay out there and be interested in angling?
Yes, and to Justin's point and Hannah's point, what we've been seeing is an increase in fishing. And when you start with a very simple system, showing them how to use a bobber system, bobber, split shot weight, and a hook. Once people master the basics, the fundamentals, you introduce them to, hey, have you ever tried bass fishing, or have you ever tried crappie fishing, or have you ever done this? Oh, wow, there's different species you can target. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, don't introduce them to walleye fishing right away, because they'll never come back.
That's why I didn't mention it. That's why I didn't mention it right away. So to Hannah's point and to Justin's point too, what we at BassTech, what we try to encourage people is we try to. I've come up with this. I didn't patent it yet. I probably should. Portfolio of fun.
Wait a minute. What'd you call that? Portfolio.
Get that down. Patent it down.
Great.
The portfolio of fun. So what we've run into, and it's a good problem. It's not a bad problem. Run into, they're like at our seminars or our workshops, we go over some fishing basics, and we go over awareness, regulations, and possession limits and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, hey, do you do hunting stuff? What about deer stuff? Right, Hannah? I mean, that happens all the time, right?
All the time.
Yeah. Justin,
And it's awesome.
have you seen like a being able to cross sell that too, like with the efforts that you're doing? I mean, have you seen that as well?
Yeah, a little bit. Not so much, just because usually we're helping mentees connect with mentors.
Okay,
and so
cool.
if they connect with somebody, they might ask them. But I do get some pretty random questions every once in a while that have nothing to do with what target shooting.
What's the weirdest question? You got to spill the beans. What's the weirdest question you've been asked out there?
Oh, I mean, just like I get asked questions all the time about specific products or companies that we have nothing to do with.
Oh, sure.
And they're like, hey, what's the, can you give me information on this? And I'm like, that's what Google's for. I don't give you that information. I help you find mentors and make this fun. So there's things like that. And one example of that I can kind of tie back into mentorship too is there was a gentleman who reached out from Washington, and he was looking for a mentor, and he was having trouble finding a mentor, and he was like, nobody wants to take me on hunting. And I was like, well, you got to just keep asking, you can't expect somebody to come to you. Like, mentors aren't really on Facebook just seeking mentees and like writing people messages like, hey, do you want to go hunting I mean, that'd be awesome if we did do that. I encourage that. But unfortunately, like, if you are someone who's looking for a mentor, you do need to put in work. And ultimately, that is what hunting and fishing is. It's work. If we didn't have jobs and we had to hunt and fish to survive, that would be our job, And so it takes work. And so anyone who is looking to get into it, looking for a mentor, just understand that, like, everybody else will do what they can, but you can't go in with an expectation for somebody to just do everything for you. You need to put in a little work too. And that's just the nature of it, So I had to explain it to him, and he felt like he was asking for too much. And I was like, man, just keep asking away though. I'll help you with what I can, but I'm not going to drive to Washington to take you out hunting in land I don't have any information about. So,
Right. Well, you have to, if you're going to be a mentor, you have to kind of know your area, know your areas of expertise. And Ray, if somebody came up to you and said, well, I kind of want to do what you do, or I want to come work at your company, what are some tips, what's some advice you give to somebody that wants to be a mentor?
Well, you have to, first and foremost, I think you have to be realistic about what you know and what you don't know, right? That's one thing. And double down on what you know and what you're good at and what you're passionate about, which is, if it's fishing, well, what specific species do you really like? And like, for example, for myself, I like anything, but I'm a bass guy. I've always been a bass guy. The first fish I ever caught was a bass, Well, I remember catching, So the advice I'd give them is keep it simple, make it safe, and you have to have fun with your mentee. You can't, don't be so egocentric or ethnocentric with the way you apply the application of your knowledge. Ask questions like, hey, why do you want to start fishing? Or is there a lake by your house? What do you want to learn? And is there anything that concerns you? Asking those open-end questions will really, really help you identify what that person wants, their needs, and it's just going to make it fun because they're going to know you care. So that's where I would start.
And Justin, you made a great point about, using social media is nice, but actually building a community and doing stuff in person is the best. But that social media aspect, Hannah, I want to talk to you about that because social media is kind of the realm you live in quite a bit. There are some ways that you can reach new people just by sharing some of your experiences on social media, isn't there?
Yeah, there are some definite ways you can bring people into your community just by being, I don't use the word classy. Don't make it so it's something people want to aspire to. Make it something that people say, oh, that looks fun. Don't whine every day about, oh, it was cold, or stop. It's fun. Don't make it about necessarily the technical aspect. If you're appealing to new people, don't make it about the technical aspect necessarily. That's one of the reasons that I don't talk about techniques. I don't talk about, other than, cotton kills in the winter, I don't really talk about clothing. It's about the comfort of it. It's about being okay that you don't know everything. I tell people all the time, if you can afford it, hire a guide. Guides want to teach. They do, truly. The good ones want to teach you. You should not be intimidated, whether you're a woman, whether you're a guy, it doesn't matter. That's what they're there for. So if you can get people to understand that, and I talked about this before, people who want to learn things are intimidated. If you can make it not about you know more than them, you're going to have more people be like, oh yeah, I want to try that. That's cool. So just being an example. That is, in any of this.
And I always talk about consistency in social media usage, and maybe Justin, you can speak to this too. But it's funny how sometimes you can, I'll spend hours setting up a photo, spend some time editing on it. I'll come up with a clever caption and I'll throw it out there on the various platforms, and it'll go nowhere. And then I'll take a blurry cell phone picture of my dog laying on her back or whatever, and it'll explode. You don't always know what's going to work. And I know, Hannah, you've probably talked about this a million times, but I wanted to tell you, haven't done it on my show yet. So I wanted to ask you about the photograph, and you know exactly which one I'm talking about on Lake Superior there. Walk us through that picture as it went completely viral around the world.
Completely nuts. Yeah. So in 2012, I had jokingly said to my late husband, I want to take photos of dogs for the rest of my life. And he joked and said, he laughed and said, we have 380 people in town. That will never happen. We live in northern Wisconsin. And 3 months later, I took a photo of my friend John and his dog Shep in Lake Superior, him holding Shep, who was 17 at the time. And it went crazy viral for 4 months. We were on every continent that had a newspaper. We were on Good Morning America. We were on the Today Show. My voicemail would fill up 4 or 5 times a day. And so John got another year of life with this dog because all these people raised money, but I also got to learn how it was to go viral. And then, so I took a bunch of notes and it was crazy. And then I went viral again about 4 months later. This sounds like this really it was crazy. And unfortunately, that was when my husband passed away. That went viral as well. So I was studying how these things went viral, because when you're in shock, you're kind of an objective individual. And I ended up creating this crazy business where I help people go through viral events, but I also got to be a dog photographer for the rest of my life. So, and hopefully I'll see you in the field this fall, because I now live where all my dog photo clients live.
That's great. And dog pictures have to be better than wedding pictures.
Oh, there's not even it's not even a contest. And it's never the bride. It's always the mother of the bride and dogs. And so, my apologies to any mothers of the bride who are watching. You weren't one of them. But bird dogs are the best because they are happy. I don't want them to sit. I want them to run around and be crazy. So it's perfect. Like I said, it's for my ADD. It works perfectly.
Ray, how does social media work in your outreach efforts? Do a lot of people in your communities? I'm assuming they're on social media. Did they all on social media, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, I've got a following on social media. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube, on Instagram. And when we do post, either when we're doing fishing workshops, obviously because of COVID, those are very, very limited. But like last year when we were doing these, I would invite, the way I did it just to make sure I can keep up was I would invite 2 to 4 families, and I say, hey, if you have some your neighbors' families, please invite them. So it would multiply. And what I've noticed is that worked really well. But when I put it on social media, I would just get bombarded. So it's a good and bad thing for me because I'm on. It's just me doing everything. I got some help now, which is great. So it's a good problem to have, right? We go back to the good problems that we're having here, and we've been handling it really well. I wish this COVID thing wasn't around because I feel that this would be a perfect opportunity because people want to get outside more. But again, we have to be very careful, very limited in our exposure. But it has moved the needle a lot, and we get a lot of emails at BassTech. Hey, what's the best lakes to fish? We get that a lot. That's the number one question. I don't know if you guys get that, but that's what we get. What is this kind of fish? They'll take a picture of it and send it to me. I'm like, oh, that's a bowfin. Oh, is it good to eat? No, you can throw that one back. So we get a lot of that. And you get a lot of questions like, hey, is it okay to can we grill here? Or, hey, is it okay to have certain beverages here? And I'm like, well, are you on a state park or are you here? So we're constantly building awareness through social media. So that social media platform allows us to educate and build awareness. So it's an extent because other people read it too, and they'll chime in. So that helps.
And they all work well with Spanish, the Spanish language. Can you integrate
absolutely,
it all pretty well?
Yeah, and I go back and forth, with my Spanish brain, my English brain. I jump back and forth. And it's exhausting, man. It's exhausting, but it is a lot of fun. You do get English-speaking people. I had this young woman. She's American, gal, born here, and she's like, I think she was raised in out in the western suburbs. And she's like, hey, I speak Spanish, and I want to learn more terms. I want to learn more technical things. And I said, sure. I gave her a one-on-one class, Medicine Lake. And she's like, oh my God, that's how you say that? And I'm like, yes. I had no idea. I never learned that in Spanish class. And I was explaining to her, not everything like fishing terms, like the word crank doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So I gave her that example, right? So she's like, oh my God. And I felt good doing the class for her, but I also felt like, well, I think, you're aware of how much you need to know about this stuff.
Right.
And we all do. It's you're constantly learning. And so, yeah, it's really, really helped. The social media, this has a tremendous, just long, really, really long reach, really long arms. And we've impacted a lot of people. So when we thread things, people just hold on to them. They start asking you a question. The question within the question, comment within the comment, and it just grows, which is good because the community sees that. Like to Justin's point, that community starts reading it and they're like, oh, so that's what that is. Oh, I see. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
Justin, as social media manager for NSSF, since obviously not a lot of in-person events are happening right now, how much pressure has been put on you as far as communicating with people? I mean, how much more emphasis has been put into the digital space since we can't do a lot of in-person stuff?
Oh, a ton. I mean, they're pretty much everything we do, everyone looks at the email marketing side of things and social media. And I mean, that's a good thing though about the Plus One movement. When we started that, we didn't know COVID was going to happen, and now it's here, and it's like, hey, this is perfect. We didn't really get affected all that much in terms of what we were trying to do with Plus One movement, mentorship, and encourage the industry to do more of that too. And it's a good thing that shooting ranges were deemed essential businesses too. And so those have been continuously running. Ammunition is so scarce. I get comments all the time saying, hey, August is National Shooting Sports Month and you want us to go out and target shoot. Well, we can't find ammo. So like, what should we do? And it's like, well, just do what you can. I mean,
slingshots.
And here's the thing. People always think like National Shooting Sports Month, like get out and participate. Well, I can tell you, you can participate by going online and learning too. You can learn about gun safety and new shooting sports, rimfire challenge, USPSA, whatever it is, and get there's a lot to know. To Ray's point, you don't realize when you're an avid hunter, fisherman, target shooter, that like the amount of information that you collect over the years is insane. I mean, that is why outdoors men and women are so passionate about the outdoors, is because once you start learning about it and you start going down that path, it's like you get so connected to it and you want to utilize all of that information you've collected. Like, what was the point of doing it if you don't actually go out and target shoot or hunt or fish? So, but with the Plus One movement, it's been really exciting. We've had like 14,000 mentors and mentees that have joined the Plus One movement groups on Facebook. You can go there and join that, and it's just a community of people who post pictures all the time and very supportive. And then we've had over 100,000 people sign up or take a Plus One pledge. And I believe our numbers right now with the amount of people that they pledged to take out is over 1 million.
Wow.
So like, and this is, I mean, the second or third year that we've done it, that the Plus One movement has been going. So that just gives you an idea though, of like this is something that can really, really be a big deal on social media and encourage people in communities all over the country, even beyond the United States. Really, we get people all the time saying, I wish I was in the United States to be involved in this. But
do you guys have some information on your website for education where people can go and just learn about, shooting and guns and things like that?
Yes. So we have letsgoshooting.org and letsgohunting.org. And those two sites are pretty much the ultimate resources. On Let's Go Shooting, we've got information on the Plus One movement. You can find retailers and ranges around the country by using our Where to Shoot app. You can just type in your location, you see all the local ranges. And then we've got all kinds of information on firearm safety, and I mean, you name it, there's a lot. And then if you need more information beyond what we offer on those websites, we have tools that connect you with your state agencies to go buy a hunting license or a fishing license or whatever. And so it's really just a good starting, like, first step. You want to get, take your first step. Let's Go Hunting or letsgoshooting.org are great places to start doing that. Or ask your local retailer, range, fishing guide, hunting guide. Like, they are there to help you, or they should be there to help you. They want to be your friend. Like, they do make money, yeah, but they do want to be your friend too. They're passionate about it, and that's why they're in the business. Most of them, anyways.
And anyone can go join that group on Facebook, right? The Plus One movement group?
Yes. Yep. There's a hunting group and a target shooting group. Yep.
Very good.
And it's full of authentic content that'll just put a smile on your face. So it's very supportive. It's great to see.
And Hannah, do you have any events planned? Anything, whether in the digital realm or in person, to bring more people out? Or
I'm organizing some ice fishing trips myself for this winter. My goal is to get more people out on the ice. I'm going to partner with some guides. I'm not going to do any of the teaching or anything. I just want to make it easy and show people how they can book trips and go out and see some new things. I get to go muskie fishing this fall. I cannot wait. And then, I moved to Fargo so I could ice fish more. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do. So lots of people, they look at me, they're like, you moved to Fargo to ice fish? I'm like, yeah, it's right in between my two favorite places, northern Minnesota and Devil's Lake, North Dakota.
Lake. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's not a long drive from Fargo up to Devil's Lake.
No.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to dodge a snowstorm on the way up there, but
I have the ice fishing GTI, which is the only Volkswagen that ends up out on the lake, but I think I need to get a truck.
Yeah.
Because the GTI doesn't do too well in North Dakota.
That's funny. Well, where can we find you in the online world or some of your work?
You can go to hshcommunications.com. You can find me all over Facebook. Just search for Hannah Stonehouse Hudson or lifeisshortmovement.com. Lifeisshortmovement.com is my thing that I'm building. I'm really focusing on, but it's going to have lots of stuff about ice fishing. People like Ray who have embraced their knowledge, and just telling the stories of people who have found a passion and haven't necessarily made it into a job, but have felt compelled to make sure that other people know about fascinating and wonderful things that will bring them joy. So that's me.
And Ray, where do we find your company? We should mention, too, that in Minnesota here, they have some mentorship programs. If people want to learn how to do some stuff, they can find that on the DNR website, too?
They can, yes. Yep. I believe it is under DNR, and then you go to volunteer, and that'll walk you through the steps. So as far as we at BassTech, we're going to be putting out a lot more digital content for the fall, and we are talking about possibly doing something with deer. I was talking to my father about that. I'm going to lean hard on him with that because he's a really, really, really good deer hunter, just a hunter. I shouldn't just say deer hunter, but really good at it. So we're looking into different things, again, adding to that portfolio of fun because we've gotten a lot of requests for it. So we're going to be putting a lot more content, and hopefully in 2021 we can go back to doing actual seminars and actual workshops, because I'm working with Joe's Sporting Goods, which is a local fishing, and you know where it is, Brett.
Yeah, St. Paul.
Yeah, St. Paul. So we're working with those guys, and they've been very, very supportive. So as soon as this kind of comes down, that's our plan. So yeah, and you can find us. Probably the next question you're going to ask me.
Yep.
At BassTechMN.com, and we're all over Facebook as well, and Instagram.
Spell that for us too.
It's B as in boy, A as in apple, Z as in zebra, T as in Tom, E as in elephant, C as in Charlie, MN.com.
All right.
So Aztec, but with a B in front of it, because for bass, because it's my favorite fish to catch. So.
Very good.
But Brett's converting me into a walleye guy, so he's gonna take me to the other side.
The good side. Good side. Nothing wrong.
The good side, yeah.
The good side,
That's right.
right.
The better tasting side, for one thing.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
I got sick of salmon and trout, so I had to go somewhere else.
How can you get sick of salmon and trout? You take that back.
I know. Well, I'm spoiled, so I know I can go back into it.
I'm just a trout freak right now. I mean, I'd love to walleye fish too, and that's what I'll do around here. But if I can go north and try to catch lake trout or stream trout too, but lake trout are just, once you go to Saskatchewan and you catch one bigger than you are, there's no going back from that.
I'm 5'1", so that's not that hard.
Very good. Well, Ray Ruiz, Hannah Stonehouse Hudson, Justin Morrissey, keep up the good work. Keep introducing people to the outdoors, and thanks for the time here on the show.
Thanks, you, Brett.
Thank you.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.